Hey everyone, Matty here from DCLblogger.com. Hope everyone's doing fine. I know most of the world is in shutdown. I know Australia is. Everyone's kind of stuck at home. The mood's kind of gloomy. It's not really getting our creative juices flowing. So I'm kind of pushing myself to make some videos to, one, socialize with the outside digital world because, it's one way that I keep in touch with everyone. And just kind of push myself to keep the creativity going. So in this video, I wanted to go through just what these digital worlds that are open so far, some of the use cases that I'm seeing get some sort of traction. So there's what people dream of these digital worlds being, and then there's actually what's happening. So just to give you some examples, I feel like music, art, clubbing, those sort of social events where there's some kind of creative, fun, interactiveness is going to be big. And we all know Sugar Club, our very own Sugar Club, which is one of the first clubs, if not the first clubs in Decentraland, has a very soft spot with all of us, made by Too Sad to Tell, the Discord member. You can go in, it plays music, you can donate. I'm pretty sure eventually he's going to get artists to display their own art around, but basically it plays some pretty cool music. You can go up and check out a few more things, but these sort of venues, once we start to get a bit more interactive and we can do voice chat, maybe multiplayer, we can unlock a more interactive chat, ways to see what other people are wearing, have nights like Halloween dance nights and stuff like that. And especially when we go VR, right? VR is going to take this next level. There is another club that I recently found. In fact, now there's 3 or 4 clubs in all of Decentraland, and I'll take you to another one. This club I actually came across literally maybe 4 or 5 hours ago, earlier today. Looks pretty damn cool. It's called Tava Club. And you go inside and it plays a bunch of different tracks. You can interact with a few things and you can change the music on the music box. So, Bear Model, Heartbreak, bunch of different cool songs, and it seems to be a Chinese band or Chinese music. And I kind of Googled them. It's got this really cool little animation at the top. Looks so cool. You guys have to see it. It's got this character, or I guess it's their mascot, the Tava brand. But basically, if you kind of, you can find them over here, right? And they've got this song called Heartbreak 2020. And it's a pretty cool song. So I don't know if the people that built this is from the band itself, but that's pretty damn cool. I mean, I love this. Again, I do see like clubs and stuff being a big thing in Decentraland, especially once we get a little bit more interactive. And I want to do a shout out to Somnium Space. I want to do a shout out to Somnium Space, who, while everyone's stuck at home, are dancing their way around in their space. So Somnium Space is another digital land project where it is VR based, and there's a bunch of land you can buy, and they're kind of focusing on the more immersive, more high quality kind of feel. But I think it's predominantly based on VR. I can't really comment too much because I'm not familiar with the project as much, but it looks pretty cool. I mean, if you got a VR headset, if you got a VR headset, then I do recommend you guys checking them out. So that's another one. So yeah, music, dance, art as well, but more from. So this is another one. So Synoptic, these guys made like a Eurovision clip. So if you guys are familiar with the song Little Big, which I guess is a viral song at the moment in Eurovision 2020, these guys made a similar kind of clip in Decentraland. So yeah, I think music is going to be a big deal because it brings people together that want to have fun, right? And you mix that with art, it's kind of a similar type of thing. So that's one thing that I think has a really big future. Let's kind of focus a little bit more on the art point of things. I mean, art is a no-brainer because we've just seen it everywhere. I mean, there's digital art projects that are killing the charts at the moment when it comes to the leaderboards and rankings on OpenSea. So NFT projects that seem to be doing well. A big part of them are art focused. So we got Super Rare that's at 200 Ethereum for the week. There's a couple more coming out soon, and I know Crypto Voxels is obviously big on art and people making or displaying their art within Crypto Voxels, which is being a big thing. But eventually, so in one of my buildings, if you guys know, Yeah, I have an art gallery not built by me, but made by Pete, Planet VR. So Pete's his name. He made this amazing mall. It's just hosted on my land, and we've kind of contacted a bunch of different artists and have them display their art in the mall. But you can see a bunch of people here. We had an official meetup, and everyone kind of visited. It's pretty damn cool. So eventually, once the feature it becomes enabled, you will be able to purchase arts straight from this kind of mall. So people can go in, see their art, and I might even put in a way where they can customize the setting or the look in their like their own setup. So you can click a few buttons and it'll kind of show you a prototype of where the art will sit and what it will look like. But eventually you'll be able to buy the NFTs for the art straight off this platform, and CryptoKitties you'll be able to buy straight from this. So e-commerce is going to be a big deal, I reckon, as soon as it becomes more of a thing in digital worlds. I don't think the functionality has been added yet. I have seen it touched on here and there, but obviously e-commerce will start to become more of a thing, especially when you consider the fact that people are spending a lot of money on different things, especially just within Decentraland. You've got people spending money on land. You've got people spending money on wearables. So the stuff that I'm wearing, it's all customizable, right? So the different things that I wear. So for example, the ones that are outlined in pink, they're mythic, and there's only 10 of those in the whole of Decentraland. So there's only 10 barbarian chest pieces, and I got one of them. So things like these are going to be a big deal. I think launch shirts, this signify a launch date, and I think there's only like 5,000 of these, so that's going to be a big thing. These masks were one of the first that were ever introduced in Decentraland. In fact, the first wearables. So I think that's going to be a big thing. So in wearables and that sort of an e-commerce within the game itself might start to be a big deal, right? It's just a matter of activating that kind of a transfer of assets functionality within Decentraland. That's not just true for Decentraland. I think that's going to be true for different companies like CryptoVoxels, Somnium Space, and eventually the Sandbox when they. Another thing I think is going to be a big thing is going to be conferences. So as soon as Decentraland introduce conferencing or the ability to stream audio within Decentraland and have some sort of a private chat area group, maybe some features where you can put your hands up and you can kind of participate and communicate with people. I think that's when conferences, especially now with the lockdown, people are realizing that you need some sort of an engagement mechanism. And to be honest, Skype and Zoom do 99% of the features. But what can a virtual reality realm add to this? Most likely, you're not going to convince people that are stuck at home to purchase a $900 virtual reality headset and start communicating in VR. So I think right now the next step is kind of activating conferencing in this sort of a digital world, but sort of find some sort of I guess benefit, right? So what kind of problems are we solving right now? So I think CoinFest are holding their conference in Decentraland. They've already kicked off and they've had a day where we have visited some spots, but I think they'll be actually going through some conferencing material. So that's going to be interesting. We have the whole conference district set up to get people to talk and provide lectures and educate, I guess, their people. So I think conferences is going to be a big deal, especially when bigger companies get involved and start to have some bigger meetings and start to, why not sell digital tickets and have times where you can participate at these events and have interactivity and showcase art and showcase what you're doing. And it's pretty much like the real thing, except you're not having that physical touch. You obviously don't get to see the person in real life. But the more realistic we can make it and more of the real world features we can add and maybe add some more ingenuity to some digital features, then I think it'll start to blow up. So conferencing, it's a no-brainer for me, but it's a matter of which projects are going to add that sort of functionality. So I just tweeted this thing recently, and it is a project called Immersive, and it's basically a tribute to Madagascar and the rainforest and the species or animals and flowers and living things within this rainforest that is slowly going extinct. And I think it was freaking awesome because you could go in, click information about different animals, and you could learn about them, right? So this is just the early stage of this building, but eventually I'm sure they'll have a lot more interactivity where you can actually see video streams or maybe some live footage of what's happening, some new causes that can kind of get people to donate and have donate events. But it's an amazing way of showing what can be done in terms of educating people. And this was a lot more, what can I say, immersive than just say reading something or watching a video. I kind of went around and got to see like different heights in different places, how things lived, a little bit of a story behind them, and it actually felt a lot cooler. I can just imagine in VR it'll be even more cooler, right? But there's also the Ross Ulbricht um, tower done by Digitable. So yeah, I did another write-up slash video about the Free Ross campaign, right? And so these guys, Digitable, they created like a website and a way to kind of fund the cause. So you can buy tokens that give you access to their building, and in the building itself, you can visit different um, levels, and you can kind of go through different letters that Ross has sent from jail. You can kind of donate to the cause if you want. You can see who else is donating. You can kind of live. So what they've done is they've built each level on an experience that Ross has had. So there's like a beach level, there's a campfire level, so stuff that he used to like to do, and eventually it'll be a lot more interactive, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of more ideas to make these better, but it actually gave me a lot more insight and stayed with me more than it would have just watching a simple video. Like this, each level, the fact that it was so personalized and it made sense, it was just a lot more kind of, I don't know how to explain it. Like I was able to take more in, even though I spent maybe 15 minutes here. Especially reading those letters, his thoughts. You're going to probably have conversations there with like-minded people. So things like this sort of a build, Ross's and Immersive, where it's kind of pushing a cause and education in that sort of a direction. I think that's going to have a future in time as people build out these things. And I think that's sort of a headquarter where you can kind of be a lot more experimental and you're not confined to the real world limitations. It's going to cost you a lot more money to build this sort of a thing, obviously. But building this sort of interactivity, once there's a decent amount of traffic within Decentraland, I think will be a big deal. So there's that. There's also gaming. Gaming is a no-brainer. We've had a bunch of different games. We've got a backgammon tournament. I think we'll see a lot more of this. In fact, we should see like Monopoly games, chess tournaments, backgammon tournaments, full-on kind of full-on tournaments where you can win prizes and stuff like that. There's obviously the block runner that we all know very well, where you can the block runner game where you can jump in and kind of jump these different blocks and hit a higher score, and if you win the pot for the day or the month, you can get money, stuff like that. And we also know the treasure chest, which was pretty successful, although in the early days of the treasure hunt, we do know that there was a lot of lag and disruption, but it got better. But it proved the concept that people will come if there's an incentive to win. So Decentraland predominantly gave away mana coin and NFTs, but if you think about it, these mana coins and NFTs are things that are minted on the blockchain that didn't really cost these companies much to create. And now they have value because projects built a kind of story and something behind it, right? But land and all that mana, it didn't really cost that much to mint and create. So incentivizing people in terms for gameplay, I think will be a big deal. And we're going to see a lot more treasure hunts. We're going to see a lot more games. We're going to see a lot more multiplayer, tournaments, these sort of things, competition, especially when we go multiplayer, when you're doing things like 5 versus 5. I'm sure that's going to take you to the next level, because I play a lot of Dota, and I know that the 5 versus 5 thing where you're versing someone online in real time, I think that's a big deal. So those are just a few things I touched on. Social events, just meeting up and talking. I think the simple things are going to be big. The fact that we can just go on there. So the other day I kind of went on Decentraland randomly, right? Randomly went on Decentraland and found a guy called Jono who was taking his daughter out and showing her Decentraland. And she was 3 years old and she was just running around in Decentraland, checking out Genesis Plaza. It's kind of cute. But my computer crashed and I wasn't able to add him as a friend. But if I were to have a voice conversation, I could have talked to him and seen what he would have been up to, because it was only me and him in the world, just checking out Genesis Plaza. We just happened to come across each other. We would have talked to him and be like, hey man, what's up? You know, got to know each other, and then having a friend list and being online and seeing that my friends are online, and then joining them and their discussions and seeing what topic of the day is. That would be a lot more awesome. We have a lot of chat happening on Discord and Telegram and WhatsApp, But when it comes to this sort of interactivity, I think it's a little bit more cooler because it's the beginnings of doing things online that is a lot more immersive than just chat. So eventually it's going to be in VR, and we obviously going to be able to visit like casinos and what do you call it, like theme parks and all kinds of events, right? So it's just not going to just be friends that I've made digitally. Hopefully it'll be like my family overseas or friends that I've made overseas that we can have a lot more fun going to these online digital experiences because we can't visit them offline. But yeah, I think that will be a big deal once friending and just the social aspect of it. In fact, I remember this really interesting video where it went viral, and there was this guy just explaining about the troubles of him and his autism. And it kind of went viral, and it was just like everyone was kind of sympathizing with him. But the fact that he was able to find a platform to make friends and display himself as an avatar and talk to people was therapeutic, and he had real friends that way, right? So a lot of people in gaming, they have real friends that they talk to online during the games that they've never met before. So this is a way of kind of meeting them and doing something more interactive. Yeah, I think trading things like these digital items, these assets, and kind of displaying yourself in the way you want to be displayed is going to be a big deal. People will pay a lot of money, and they have in the past, for things like names. People will pay a lot of money for things like different wearables, like I said, t-shirts. You can see just in this image here, there's people that have different clothes, but you wouldn't imagine that this clothing set right here probably worth about 10,000 mana per item. So 10,000 mana for that, the pants, and I think the shoes as well separately. This guy's got a skeleton outfit. That's really expensive because it's rare. So things, I think different people will portray themselves in different ways, and I think that's going to have a big future. The whole fashion industry, I guess, on digital clothing. And now that we're blockchain, I think interoperability. So, say for example, if Somnium Space release some wearables, maybe if they work together with Decentraland, Decentraland can accept and create value for those wearables to be brought in within Decentraland, or the same thing between crypto voxels, and have some sort of a collaboration that way, so that the projects can kind of bounce off each other. Because the metaverse is really built on, it's not one project. I think it's the whole concept of being online. So just like how you may own multiple lands in real life, maybe you own multiple digital lands in different projects, right? They have their own investments, they have their own gameplay, your own reasons to visit them, but your own friends that are unique to that particular project, different things like that, and you can bring them to different projects like that. I think that's going to have a decent future. So just a few things that I think that will grow in time, that are already proving themselves financially and just in terms of creativity that are happening. Competitions, I think, is going to be a big deal, especially when Decentraland obviously they had a launch competition, but they had building competitions as well. They had the whole concept of creating content within Decentraland, whether it was to use the SDK or whether it was to use the builder, and being awarded for that. So I think that sort of creating things and displaying it to the world. Now that with Twitter, Twitter and Facebook, predominantly Twitter, we can just create something and pretty much the whole Decentraland world can know about it as others retweet and kind of take a look and get interested, right? So this sort of an art, so this is Polygonal Mind. They made this crypto art meetup for this build here. So this is a really interesting build where I believe these blocks were kind of music pieces, and you can kind of reassemble these music things, and when you click play, it plays different types of music. It was really interesting and wacky, but it was cool as. And these are definitely higher quality builds, and I would love to see more of these within Decentraland. So these are just the beginnings of what I see happening, but we are just at the cusp of figuring this stuff out. We're bringing stuff in the real world into the digital world. I'm sure there's going to be things that you can do in the digital world that you can't do in the real world that are going to take off, that we haven't discovered yet. Maybe some sort of digital gaming that we don't know of, some way of socially interacting that we haven't really heard of before, unlocking a new dimension. I don't know. Like, it's digital now. The physics don't matter as much, right? So things might take an interesting turn once the momentum of innovation start to pick up. Anyway, I don't want to talk too much on this video. I think I've already done like 20 minutes. So just some content to put out there. Hope you guys are staying safe, being at home or going out, whatever you wish to do, and just overall taking care of yourselves and your family. I'll see you guys in another video.